That's the hardest thing about running a business as a mom is I want my kids to be okay. I want the business to be okay. And I'm always going to put myself at the end of the equation. And now I am reorienting my whole life to put me at the front of that equation because I know the kids are not going to soar unless I'm healthy. The business is not going to soar unless I'm healthy.
Welcome everyone to What the Fundraising. I am so excited to be here today with Kishshana Palmer, Dana Snyder, Becky Endicott. I just clicked record with no introduction because we were just catching up as we all jumped on the line, which felt like the right way to begin this podcast episode. We are all super close friends. We share a text chat and we are always going back and forth together between what's going on in our businesses, what's going on in our homes, with our families, with our kids. And I just sort of had this moment the other day where when we were kind of like coaching each other around different challenges we were experiencing, and I just sort of had this moment of like, God, I wish people could like see the real behind the things that we all put out there. And even though I think everybody here is like open and transparent about a lot of what happens behind the scenes that makes themselves and their businesses go, I just think there's no replacement for like us just getting real and honest about what it looks like to juggle and fumble business and motherhood and all the things. And so that is what we are here today to talk about.
I love it.
I'm glad you said fumble.
Right.
That's real, y'all.
True life coming into this conversation.
Right. And I just want y'all to know, I thought I was out the game. I just want y'all know. I am not. I was like, I don't want no children. I'm not getting married. I'm going to have a mister, a companion who picks me up and takes me on nice cruises and drops me home. You know, I was going to live my life, the single lady of the city. And now, no, I'm in love. I have an amazing boyfriend. Fingers crossed, things will move where we want them to go. And I have a bonus kid who is 7. And I
get back
motherhood at that precious age, but now with a boy. And I am all girl mom all the time. And so it has been such an interesting like shift to like how little boys work and, you know, what they think and how they do. And he's so loving and his daddy sings to me. So he sings to me. Like it just is, he is the cutest thing ever. Can I just tell y'all? Just the little squishy cutest thing ever. And
you weren't kidding when you said you were in love. I thought you were just talking about him, though. But you're talking about little man.
I love him so much. It's so crazy.
I love that.
It's the best. I haven't made like after school sandwiches or anything in a long time. You know, I was pretty self-sufficient, now 18-year-old. And so I came home this afternoon. We got home from school and I was like, okay, do you want a snack? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna make you a sandwich. You want turkey or ham? He was like, turkey. I was like, cheese, no cheese. He's like, no cheese. I was like, mayo, mustard. He was like, ooh, who eats mustard? And I think that's the most plain sandwich. That's like putting peanut butter on a slice of bread and giving it to the baby, right?
Yeah.
The sandwich I made. And he was just delighted.
Bonding.
This is gourmet.
Bonding over no Grey Poupon. Like, we're keeping it simple.
This little sliced turkey and bread and mayo. Oh, like, this is wonderful. I want the simplicity of that in my business, okay? This is grateful.
What a lucky little boy.
I'm back in it with y'all again. I thought I was out. I was like, have fun, y'all.
Pull up to this table.
I love it.
You know what? It's such a like important reminder, not just that you're like back in it, but like all of us have kids of different ages, right?
Yeah.
And I just started college, like Becky, you're dealing with like middle school and high school. And, you know, and I remember when we first started being in our group chat, Dana hadn't even had Kennedy yet, right? Like I was juggling a 2-year-old, now 2 little ones. And so we're all like in different phases and places, but also have a lot of like common threads. I feel like between the moments when we feel really like stretched and the things that we're looking for that help like ground us and make us feel like, okay, we really can do it. And so maybe like we definitely are going to be honest about the things that make our head explode, but maybe we can like start with something positive around like, what is that, like when there's all the craziness in your personal life with your kids, running your businesses, like what are the things that like bring you back ground you down, like help you kind of keep going?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is just so relevant, like a full circle, because we just got to see each other at the Classy Collaborative. And we both shared similar stories where I was leaving. This is just like kind of a mixture of all the things you just asked. I was leaving, and it was following a very rough Mother's Day where Kennedy was literally pooping her pants.
Oh, remember that text?
Yes. And I was like, what do I do? As in pooping, like all over me all day, basically. And so I was leaving Daniel with this child. Now, then Daniel ended up okay. And then literally as the Uber is arriving to my house, she pukes on me. I was like,
oh my God.
Cool, I'm going to go back and change real quick, everybody. And my parents were also coming with me. They were going on a separate flight home. I was going to Chicago. I'll be right back. Here, Daniel, here's your baby. And then Mallory, once we got together, shared a similar, not sickness as much story, but in having a 4-year-old who's learning that what her mom is doing and leaving and expressing that emotion. And then, right, all of that happens. And then you get to be in person with the most amazing energy at this event. I mean, Mal and I were at a dinner with Kelly from AWS and Nathan Chappelle, and we were just laughing, like hard belly laughing. And then I was attending this amazing keynote session with this phenomenal I Am ALS like founder who's like deep struggling with ALS and then the mission that they're on. And it was just like, yeah, this is why I leave and I do this work and I get to do community conversations around recurring giving. And these are the people who are trying to change these like issues that no one else is changing, right? Quite frankly, I think that's why we all do what we do. And then get to, of course, come home and soak up the family time and just snuggles. But I think that was kind of a full, like hard mixed with the beautiful part of what we do. And everybody's good. And then I get to come home and love on this. So
good.
Yeah.
What about you, Becky?
Well, I could give you a different interpretation for a different season of life because we were in Phoenix about this same time the week before Mother's Day, and we were hosting the Responsive Nonprofit Summit. And I was trying to host 8 panel discussions while it may look like I have it all together, but in the background, you know, my husband cannot figure out where my youngest child, Marie Curie outfit is because she's doing the wax museum presentation and we're trying to get the speech. And I'm like in between sessions, like check under the bed and don't forget to iron it. I mean, just like the little moments, because I think like as a working mom, first of y'all, this work is whiplash all the time. Like the second that you have an incredible moment, like the next second could be you're getting puked on or you're getting an SOS text from your teenager or we forgot something that needs to be run up to school. That happened to me on Friday when I did not have time, but we made it work. And it's just about like, how do I live in the moment where I'm at right now with the people I'm at? How do I give them my attention? And at the end of the day, like these 2 girls at my house are the 2 most important people in the world to me. And so whatever is happening, no matter how big in my business, it is never going to be bigger than them. And so for me, that is the centering grounding that I want the little Marie Curie questions to come up. I want to know how you did on that science test. I want to know how tennis practice went. I want to know what was hard about today and what do we need to release out of today or what do we need to gripe about. And I want all the little moments in between because they're teaching me how freaking strong I am and how to model this kind of a life for my kids, which I honestly don't think I'm doing a great job at entirely in the way that I want to, but learning. So what about you, Kish?
I was on mute because I was just like,
She was her hands like on her chin. She's just like taking in Becky.
I know.
because I get it, right?
Yeah.
Like
You do.
I spent, and shout out to the Queenager because, you know, this kid has ridden river with me since darn near she was born. Like her dad and I got divorced.
Hi, Sinai.
We'll see if she appears. Chanel is over here. I didn't even notice the dog was tucked in the corner. Okay. She is literally a creep, you know, so moved around. She spent a lot of time with my parents. My parents helped me raise her. She had to become really self-sufficient really early. And so, yeah, I have videos of her. I was showing it to my bonus baby that I was like, look, you don't need to be eating cereal, because when Sanaa was your age, she was making eggs. She was making eggs. And I was like, here is the video. And he's like, oh, you had her at the stove? And I was like, yes. But the reality is, like, I had to teach her how to, she can cook her face off now. It was crazy. I had to teach her these basic skills really early, because I really wanted to make sure that she got those pieces of just being able to make her own way in the world. And I continued to reinforce that with her. But I missed a lot of stuff. Like, I remember we had this really hard conversation right before she graduated high school. We were in Paris. This was like her senior trip that I took her on for Christmas and New Year's. And, you know, she got to be a big girl and have a little sip of a little thing or a little two each night. And one of the nights we were talking, she said to me that she felt like she lived with her grandparents, but visited me, which was wild, because she was with me every day. And so I was like, what are you talking about? So she was like, well, Mom, you know, we wake up in the morning and, you know, you get me dressed and do my breakfast and then drop me in school. And then Grandpa would pick me up from school and Grandpa would take me to my activities and Grandpa would do my homework and Grandpa would feed me. And then you would pick me up and then you read me a story and then we go back to sleep. And I was, food you ate, I made, right? But but she wasn't wrong. So from her perspective, she was a visitor in her own house. Her house with her grandparents. And I just was like, I mean, that was like a whap.
I was going to ask how that sat with you, my friend.
It was like she bitch slapped me in the face. I just want you to know. But it was in part because all was coming to my head. I was flooded by these different memories of like racing from one part of the country to another, from taking red eyes to having my father like drive me home, to switch suitcases, to get him back on the thing so I could meet her bus for the school trip in a different state. Like the number of things that I did, because I was class mom and I was field trip mom from kindergarten until high school. And so I'm like, are you kidding me? And my house is like the neighborhood drop-in center. So I have a Costco bill of a family of 5 and I only have 1 kid, right? So in my mind, you was at the house because my money shows that you were there. But from her experience, she was like, I mean, you know, I was a little cared for and stuff, but I'm a So it wasn't until COVID that she was in high school that she and I actually got to spend an inordinate amount of time together, like all the time. And that's my roadie. Like, that's when I realized, like, I actually like my kid. And I know there were a lot of parents who did not have that experience. And I didn't have that experience when she was in middle school. I thought I was going to lose her to the streets or to the grave because I was going to take her ass out. So,
feeling it. Thank you for speaking truth. Yes.
That's like to the grave, you know? So I think for me now, it is trying to make sure that I don't pivot so hard with a new addition to our family and starting to understand what blending looks like when she's going out the house, because I don't want her to have the experience that, oh, now mommy gets to be the mom. And now, but I'm like, bro, I didn't miss nothing. But that's not her lived experience. Lived experience is her mom on the plane, her mom on the go, us having to move, me not being there, me showing up at the PTA meeting, the last slot, you know, trying to get in. So I made everything, but it was like, ooh, my camera dropped. But it was like, but at what expense, at what cost? I don't want to do that again. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about, Becky, like when I'm just like, okay. And then lastly, how do I make this transition? What I'm trying to understand is how to move from, you know, I was definitely an Apache mom. Okay. That helicopter was and dropping in. I was right behind my kid, you know, and she knows it. And to go from that to her having to really exercise independence, and then her having to learn like, this is the time you should have called home. Not that time, but this time you having a little blonde streak going on over there. Like something's going on. Your brain is, what's happening? So making that transition, and y'all will see that, and you're seeing that now over and over again as our babies grow, and it changes who you are as a woman. But
okay, you just said something in there that I feel like is there's so many things you said in there that I kind of want to double click on, but I just had this experience on Saturday. We were leaving a party to go to Emmy's ballet recital, and it was really far away from each other. San Francisco traffic's crazy. Like trying to get Isla in the car. She's starting to scream and pass out. Like I'm trying to say goodbye, but like everybody wants to say goodbye for like the 18th time. Yeah. And I'm like, finally get out the door, and I'm like booking it to the car. And I did not notice how steep the driveway was. And Emmy started running after me and ate it, like fell hard. and took like some big chunks out of her legs and her feet and her hands and her like, and you know, this is before like her first ever ballet performance. She is screaming. She's
baby.
screaming like, you weren't waiting for me. I wanted to hold your hand. Just like, you know, like literally
Cue the mom
like
guilt.
just like get in there. But then I was sitting like later that night, she was fine and we figured it out and it was okay. And we bandaged her up and she didn't notice that she was bleeding through her tights right before she went on stage. And so, you know, everything was fine. But I was sitting there later that night and talking about it with somebody, because then we went back to the party, long story. Anyways, and I was saying, you know, like, yeah, you know, I really want to get like better at like walking slower and like being more mindful, because I'm a very like fast walker, and like part of it's my ADHD, right? Like I need to like complete the thing and like get there. And I was like, I just want to be more like mindful of like her movement kind of through the world and like and then the mom who I was talking to sort of jumped in and was like, you know what, you're doing the best you can and da 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 da. And I was like, yes, like I'm not like shame spiraling around it. Like, or I said something like I made a mistake. And I was like, I should have been more mindful. Like, I wish I'd been more mindful of her, like walking to the car. And they like kind of jumped in to defend me to me. And I was like, no, I'm not like shame spiraling, but like I did make a mistake. Like I should have been more mindful. That was a steep driveway. I was focused on the wrong thing. It doesn't mean I need to sit here and beat myself up and call myself a horrible mom and like, you know, be deep in that shame hole. But like, I think it's okay for me to say like, yeah, next time I want to do something differently. And Becky, when you were talking, you said something like, I'm not always doing it right. And I feel like Kish, you're like grappling with some of those things too. And I feel like that's such an important space for us to talk about, like how we create space to like grow and not be okay with everything that we've done, but also not go into the like, I'm a bad mom, like, you know, space. What do you think about that?
I mean, you know, I've had a lot of conversations with you about questioning having another with like, what would work look like? What would our family look like? And it's like part of me so desperately, I mean, there's complications there, but so desperately wants another. And then I'm just like, would I even want to work anymore? Like the true obsession. I mean, she's 13 months, right? So I'm not in the depths of, I know it's just going to get harder to parent. I think there's just like, I love how Kish, you ended it. We're like getting to know, not even really getting to know yourself, but like changing, evolving as a woman, and also the needs and the things. And also to your point about running, I think I've always been a hustler. It's always been my mentality. I'm very much like, people meet me and they think you're from New York. And I loved living in New York. Like that was me. That's what I always, like my drive was about. And then having Kay, like sometimes I just don't care. I'm like, yeah, I just want to sit in your playpen with you and throw my phone across the room and read 20 books, mostly the same book over and over and over again.
Harold and the Purple Crayon again.
I was the opposite, and I will send you now the article I wrote. Something I was small. It was a blog post about how I'm a 3-hour mama. And so this is for moms and for caregivers who have not had that experience. So I did not want to be in her crib. I love that girl. Y'all know I love that girl bad.
Yeah,
okay?
you do.
But baby, let me tell you what, if I had to say one more word with explanation to a baby, and we didn't do any Google Gaga talk. We talked straight words. Like I was very into the social emotional learning aspect of that for her. And also just wanted to be my adult friends. And so I did really well between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. I was like on it. And on the weekends, I could do one activity. I could not do back-to-back dance, swimming. I had to hand it off to my dad. Like I was like, I need out. And it wasn't that I was escaping from her. It was like the screaming kids, the people that didn't parent the way I did. I don't coddle my kid. Like, I just was like, sis, stand up. Like, I remember one time, and listen, y'all, don't judge me. She grown now, okay? She made it out good. She made it out to parenthood.
We're not judging you for anything, buddy.
Never.
Or do, but either way, what I'm saying is, one time in the supermarket, she was about 3. So I had just like hidden her passy, what I hope for good. And so we were Target, not supermarket. And so we're walking up and down. I had done a good job of avoiding the baby aisles that had the pacifiers. But this one time I made a left to cut through to get to another section. And what aisle do y'all think I cut through on?
Binky fever.
Passy, mommy, you said my passy was love. Oh, the passies. And I was like, and I just walked away. Just left the child in the aisle. She's having a whole
Scream it
meltdown
out,
with
kid.
passies, and I walked off. And I remember overhearing some other ladies that are like, oh my God, did she just leave her child in the aisle? And I turned around, I did. You know, and so anyway, I tell you that story to say, like, I just didn't have, I thought I was going to have all of the stuff. Like, I was going to want to do her hair and I was going to want to do this. And I was terrible at the things I thought I was going to be good at and then really good at the things I thought that sucked. And so it was a mixed bag for me. And so I used to feel really guilty when other moms, they'd be like, oh my God, I just want to be all day. And I was like, why? You know, like, I mean,
what about you time,
so
mama?
But I had to squash that, right? Like, because that's not the expectation. And so then I'm trying to redirect that into work, right? And try to figure out how to do that balance. And I just basically felt conflicted all the time. So no, Dana, to your point, I actually am now at the good, right mid 40s, really starting to understand who I am in the world and who I am as a person for me and not for performance. And motherhood is performance. Let's just be clear.
Ooh, good. Okay, I'm going to jump in here, even though I usually hate following Kish because she just drops so many wisdom bombs. I'm like, damn it, you're going to sound like an unintelligible idiot. Let me back it up and say, like, my motivations in motherhood were a little bit different because I had suffered from infertility for so long. And so going into wanting to be a mother for so long and then building it up in your head that if I could get it, if it happens, this is what I'm going to be and this is how I'm going to show up. And the thing is, when you project that, you don't factor yourself into the equation. Like, what am I going to do for me, you know, to keep myself focused and keep my heart full and to keep my curiosity going. And so when we finally did get pregnant, we've got 2 little infertility miracles at my house. They're 13 and 10, and I love my daughters. And have we all said, like, we all have daughters. So when we have conversations, it's like some fiery girl, kind of all the emotions. Thankfully, not a lot of the drama. But yeah, I kind of just lost myself a little bit straight into motherhood when it happened. And at the same time I was becoming a mom, I just have to like lift what you said, Mal. Maybe it's because we both have ADHD and I just recognize it so well, is that I really prided myself on being able to do so many things at one time. I mean, I'm already an achiever. I'm already a massive multitasker. I love efficiency. So I want everything to run and hum in a really, you know, clean way. But the reality is, I'm talking to my husband about this a couple weeks ago. Like, he says, I'm at 100% and you're at 100%. And I'm like, honey, there is nothing 100% about what I do. You may be at 100%. But I'm at 260% because I'm doing 100% with the job. I'm doing 100% with the kids and I'm doing 60% with the home. And I lost myself in the equation, I think, for the first 8 years that I was a mom, because I threw it all into getting into the playpen and all into making the business great. And I absolutely forgot myself. And it has taken what you 3 know is this big metamorphosis that I am on to shed this skin of what I thought I needed to be to become who I wanted to be. And that has been a very interesting journey for me also in my mid 40s.
Yeah. I think this is also just like real for listeners. Like, these are things that we text about and just checking in and being like, you okay?
Yeah.
You know, and like,
thank God for it too.
And sending back and forth audio messages. And I think this is the power of having people who you can just like unapologetically reach out to when it's just like, I'm feeling a certain way.
And we did it across all the things, right? Like, it's not just about, and motherhood, I think, is a very large component. And typically when I talk, particularly if I'm on stage, like, I talk about caregiving because I realize there are lots of folks who either didn't want to have children or are still struggling with that. Like, I was not able to have a live birth after Snyder, and it wasn't for lack of trying. But I don't really talk about it because I'm like, well, them angels is gone with the wind. I'm not gonna do about that. But I had a therapist recently who told me that I should mourn the ones that ain't make it. And I was like, for what? They really ain't make it that far. And she's like, no, but like, Kishshana, like, you're holding on to that. even in the way you're moving in this way and that way and that way. And I was like, oh, and she was making this connective tissue. And I said, oh, hell. I try to be cognizant of that. But a lot of us are caregiving. And depending on how old we are, we're also sandwiched because we're caregiving on the one end for some little young person, baby or another, and our parents or our in-laws or older siblings, or, lots of us are uncovering our dis-ease that has been living in our body for a really long time. And it's showing up in things that were ignored. And so, the performative behavior that each of us had, I'm sure, growing up, that people were like, yes, do it. We're like, psych, ADHD. Mine is complex post-traumatic stress, which mimics ADHD, right? Like, so we were running ourselves ragged before we were running ourselves ragged. And how do we expect to keep up that pace and also to be able to let others in to the other parts of us when that's the thing that we're socialized to be good at?
Oh, that's so true.
I was
So
like,
with
man,
that
this
one-
me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think about like, what is it that we're all willing to talk about the stuff that goes really poorly, like really poorly, that allows us to maybe feel more like safe then to share it back and forth with each other? I mean, I just think about
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yes. I'm not speaking for you ladies over there, but I'm speaking for myself. Yes.
Plus one.
Yeah.
The first time I was like, F it. Here's what's really happening.
Yeah.
In the right? And I was just like, y'all asked. So here we go. Y'all were like, and here are some solutions that's working.
Or you just get the rage of the sustainable sisterhood who's going to sit there and say that sucks with you. And you have every reason to feel angry about that or tired or whatever.
And as much as it's that way, it's also on the like amazing stuff too.
Yeah.
Right. I also want to say, like, we're also the biggest cheerleaders and supporters for what we do collectively and individually. And that's just as like epic. Like, not only the sharing the mom stuff. I remember, I think I shared like Kennedy's first steps with you guys. And I was like so excited to share that in the same way as like anything work wise. And I went to be the first, I was like so excited to like meet Isla and get the first photos in the, right. It's just like on both ways, like collectively there to like pick each other up and give like the hard shit advice when we need it, and collectively be like, what the legit hell just happened? And then on the flip side, also be like, yeah, I got you on celebrating all the amazing stuff too. I just want to make sure that listeners know we're not just like a text chain of
bitching.
Yeah. There's a lot of very good things in there.
There's lots of good things, but I just want to say for folks who have the bitching text chain, if this is your season, okay, just let it fly, because there's a respectability, that we are, it's like, it feels like quicksand. We have to present a certain way as professionals. We have to present a certain way as thought leaders. Then we have to present a certain way when we're partnered. And we have to present a certain way so that people can go, oh, look at how good of a mom she is, and her kids are so pretty. Or they just sort of like lightweight hate us and don't say anything out loud, right? Waiting for the day I got trolls in my comments. I have not made it yet, y'all, because I have not had the trolls. I'm not doing good work in the world. But I think that both those things can be true. So I love that, just making sure that people know that we try to really have balance and also don't hide behind the ugly stuff. Because, we could tell that your skin breaking out, girl. Like, we can see it. So just let us help you with the retinol and whatever else you need of the problem.
Yeah. There's I interviewed this woman a while ago on the podcast, Carol Robin, who wrote this book, Connect, Building Exceptional Relationships. And she used to teach this class at Stanford Business School that was known as like touchy feely. And she talks about these like elements of connection. And one of the things that's on there is like that, that your like sharing disclosures won't be weaponized against you. And so there's like something that you're like saying, Dana, which is not just that like we celebrate the good stuff and we're there for the bad stuff, but we also don't like intermingle them in ways that feel like we're weaponizing the mistakes we've made in whatever part of ourselves with like anything else. Like, it's like we let ourselves like be seen for those things. We share them. We're real about them, but then it's not like it doesn't come up later. And Kish, something I think you're so good at, like kind of like coaching us around or like just thinking about in your own, life and work are like the seasons. Like I remember saying to you the last time I think we were together in person, like, I'm so sorry I like wasn't present during this last season. And, you were like, yeah, dude, you were like very sick and then had a baby and then like, had kind of your own season. But I was like, yeah, but like I wasn't as present as I wish I could have been. And yeah, at the time I didn't feel the capacity like in my 6 times of vomiting a day to like be super present. But you're so good, Kish, I think at like seeing the whole picture and like reminding us of the whole picture and giving grace and space to seasons and just knowing like, when you pick like friends for life or people you're going to actually be on a journey with, that you're not looking to help boost you for this one thing or do you this one favor or sit with you in this one moment, then you can go through seasons where sometimes you're all super present. Sometimes some of you aren't as present. Sometimes you're going through challenges at the same time. And it's like you figure out ways to like come back to each other.
Yeah, I would just echo and say Kish is the master at all of that. But I do think the way that the 3 of you show up for this group, for me, is so beautiful and unique in your own superpowers and what you bring and give. And there are times when you all know this has just been a crazy journey with We Are For Good. It continues to be the craziest journey ever. And we're just holding on with our fingertips, as everybody is, I feel like, in whatever their journey is. And there are times I will not even respond to that text for like 4 days. And you all have sent, 25 texts with 25 suggestions. And I'll tell you at the beginning, I was feeling like, oh, I need to get in at night and respond and contribute. So I'm not just taking from this group. And then it was like, oh no, you don't have to do that. Thank you, Kish. Like for saying, show up when you can, where you can, however you can, and come as yourself. It was like, oh, whew. So this can be a place of exhale. This doesn't have to be a place where I have to show up. And that feels pretty darn good to me. So thanks, ladies.
I love that. And I feel like, I think I remember this text coming up. This was a couple of years ago, though. And I was like, are we really going to be friends or not?
I remember you saying that.
I know how to engage,
So good.
And I think that what I want more women, and I think our sector, I call our sector, even though I'm sure women across lots of sectors are experiencing some version of this, but I just want us to be unafraid to say the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
Like, to say, like, I'm just going to name this, and y'all have heard this, and this. It makes my stomach hurt. Right. Also, if I don't say this, my head and my stomach is going to hurt, and we don't need this kind of pain. Let's talk about it. And what is at the root of that for me is the fear of being abandoned, is the fear of letting people down, is the fear of not being good enough, of being excluded. I used to make this joke, which I no longer make, that I was the least popular girl in the most popular clique. And so I ran with the popular girls, but I wasn't the most popular one. I wasn't the prettiest one. I was probably the smartest one, but I wasn't the things. And I remember my boyfriend saying to me, why do you keep leading with what you weren't? And I was like, first of all, you're loud. Okay.
I believe you said that.
So you need friends who can allow you to have that moment where you're like, you're loud. Also, okay, so what are we going to do about it again? And that we have to cultivate those relationships. And you do not, in my opinion, cultivate those relationships without being able to be truthful. And you can be kind and truthful, right? You can talk about a thing and not about a person. And I think that that's one of the things that I've learned from y'all, because we've had lots of conversations. I mean, particularly during the COVID and all the height of the faux DEI. I'm gonna say,
oh, geez. Yeah, we should talk about that.
We had so many different conversations, and what always sticks out to me is the like pivotal: are we really friends or not? Because I'm gonna say some stuff. It might make y'all uncomfortable, and y'all say some stuff it's gonna make me uncomfortable, but I still love y'all. So we're just gonna have to thug it out, okay? And we need to be able to say that as women more, to me, just to be able to name whatever it is and to trust that the performance, that we are not abandoning ourselves. So worrying about being abandoned is actually not a thing. And that we really need to work on self-trust in order to build trust with other groups, to have that support.
Yep.
And you see it in other spaces. You see it sometimes in faith-based spaces. You see it sometimes in social circles or social organizations, that kind of stuff. But it is possible to do it right where you are. And so I think that's something that I want to make sure that if folks are like yearning for like who's going to be for me in this season, the probability is high you already have who is for you.
Yeah, I love that you talked about that. Our conversations have not always been comfortable, either collectively or individually. Like we've navigated a lot of complicated things together in a short amount of years. And we've had to bring forward things that worked or didn't work or need to work a different way. And I feel like we have been really committed to like each other's learning and growth and like belief that we have the same North Star. We also have really different lived experiences that have brought us to like the moment on our journey that we're on. But I think we've like given grace and space, but not excuses. And we've like really held each other accountable in important ways. And I'm like really grateful for that because I think that also has like led to a sense of safety way more so than if people are kind of just saying positive things. Like even in the like we were chatting about like a book thing for me the other day. And I was like, y'all, I feel like I'm in an echo chamber. Like somebody just gave me hard feedback. I want that. Like I need that, you know? And so, and I think we do really try to do that for each other too.
So much of that. And I know, Mal, you're going to laugh. And if you want to cut this, you totally can cut this. But, you know, one of my biggest scarcity issues is I'm from the middle of freaking Oklahoma. And I love my Oklahomies. We're great. But the conservative evangelicalness of all of this means that I have got a much longer journey in some ways to unwind some of this unlearning that I didn't even realize was so ingrained within me, even though I want to rage against it. And you all have been such a safe space to hold me in that, to take away the fears. Here's the part I said you could cut. I mean, there was a point I was like, Mal, you and I should just start a podcast called The Hick and the Jew, and we should just talk about shit together. Like, I don't know what it would be. Just let's talk out in the open about what the hell we know and what it all is. But I just think that I feel safer with you three in speaking things about my life and my fears and my hopes than I do with people I've known for 35 years.
Oh my God. So true. So true. I always go back to this. I remember, I also think this is again, like, this is like a whole deep thing. I feel like we intrinsically all met each other for a purpose and a greater calling. And I remember vividly my third round of IVF networking. One, Mallory was visiting me for one of the rounds, and I was so upset driving her to the airport on the call with insurance that she took over the phone conversation for me because I couldn't like get words together for what was happening. And then I had another phone call with Becky, who I called uncontrollably bawling, trying to give myself a shot that I couldn't do. And she like ran into the closet to be able to like calm me down, and then being able to share on our text thread about literally what is happening in the real. And like, and Kish having one child and me just having one child, and being like, you can have like, one's great. And like those here in Atlanta, kind of dealing with, you're talking about societal pressures. I went to a dinner and went around the table and it was like, how many kids do you have? 2, 3, 4, 3, 5. I was like, 1. And then the automatic question is, when are you having your next one? Have to have her before they get 2. And I'm just like,
isn't that wild?
Yes. And I was just like, this is not, yeah. But so safety, realness, like respect, and none of that. I don't know how I met y'all, but thank God, like powers that be decided to like intersect our lives is amazing. And which, by the way, Kish and I both now live in Atlanta, Georgia.
We cannot,
and we cannot.
Hour and change away. I was like, I was going to today for lunch, right? And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to work downtown and Lola, da da da. Then I have a client thing. They were like, oh no, you need to fly here in the morning. And so I was like, oh, the morning and not virtual on Wednesday.
Oh my God.
I had to like do all this stuff. I had to prep this morning. So all the stuff I wanted to do to be able to fly out in the morning, I was like, I was supposed to be at the house.
We have tried. I don't even know how many times.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm just going to drive.
It's going to happen.
We're going to have a sleepover is what's going to happen.
But you're not the only one, though. Like, literally, I've had other girlfriends who live up north who literally have just slept over at my house. Because they're like, either you come up here, which I will, and just stay. Because what is the point? I was like, I would just stay. Just, I bring my own blanket. You know, like, it just...
We'll have your daughter watch Kennedy, and then we'll go out.
and then we'll go out. That is actually a plan.
Ooh.
That's a great plan.
Yes. She's going to want to get paid. Okay. So I'll be paying her.
She can totally get paid.
I was like,
She's providing a service. We've had many of these conversations about getting paid for service.
That's right.
She's not, look, then I'm about to use the word hustling. I'm about to say, she's not hustling like I would. It's fine. But I agree with you about the aspect of safety. And it is hard. And y'all know I've had a real struggle with trust and trusting other women, not in our group at all, but like with other white women that I've been friends with. Remember that time we had a conversation. I was like, y'all need to read this book if you want to be my friend, right? Like that
book was good, by the way.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my God. I was so on some other stuff with it, and I had to like dial myself back, but they have so much professional hurt that I conflated with personal hurt. And because my profile was so visible, it just felt like everything was 10 times bigger than it probably was. And I had to start telling myself, Kishshana, you cannot expect you of other people. And then I had to do another double click on that, which was, and why are you doing this anyway? You trying to get props, accolade, thanks, a payback, a favor? Because what is the subconscious thing that is driving me to twist myself into a pretzel? And it has been so interesting to be able to start to say no, or no, I'm gonna do it, but, or whatever. And that to me was hardest to do in my girlfriend relationships. It was actually not as hard to do professionally. In my girlfriend relationships, super hard. You're not coming? You're not flying here? You're not going to Cancun? Bro, I'm trying to pay my mortgage. And put my kid in college. So that, I think our crew has really provided that space for me to just not have to worry about those things, particularly because I could talk to you about what was happening in other places and get some reflection on how I need to move and things I need to think about. And I think it encourages us to just be honest with yourself about yourself, right?
We don't shy away from the hard conversations.
Yeah.
And I think we don't make ourselves compartmentalize our pieces of who we are. And that makes such a difference. Because it's like, I don't want business advice from somebody who doesn't understand all the pieces of me. Like even in our group, when we first started texting as a group, before Dana had Kennedy and before voice memos were transcribed, I remember telling you guys,
so nice now.
Y'all, I'm struggling. Like I wake up and there's all these voice memos and I have a 2-year-old who screams at me the moment she hears sound come out of my phone. And then I can't keep up. Like I can't, and I feel like but I felt safe enough to say that, like, I'm feeling behind. I'm feeling like I can't keep up. Daycare keeps getting canceled and I have no time to listen to all this stuff. And I just feel like we've let, all of our challenges aren't all the same, even though we resonate in certain areas together or have like some shared experience, but we give each other the space to be like, hey, there's this whole other part of my life that's like interfering with my ability to do this other thing. And we don't make ourselves like remove it in order to do the thing, And I mean, I feel like that, when I went to the IVF thing with Dana, like I was coming in town to speak. We had planned a day where we were going to do business stuff together all day. She was in the middle of this round and I was like, screw it. We're going to get mani-pedis.
Yeah.
And I
that was the right move.
Uber, and I took the Uber straight to the fertility clinic and like sat there with her. And then we like had a day together and then I dealt with insurance and it's like, but that is like the most important thing I could have done for my friend. It's also, I think, the most important thing I could have done for her business, believe it or not,
I agree.
Or, like,
Totally.
it's just like, because it's all the same.
All encompassing.
Thing.
It's all the same.
All the same. And then to randomly at that moment not know that you would end up going through IVF too months later.
Also, Becky's closet really should have had a cameo in this. I feel like we've all had Becky closet convos, and I have a picture on my phone somewhere of when I went through IVF, and then my clinic like took a really long time before they would test me, and I was like losing my mind. And they're like, "Don't take an at-home test; they can be false. They can be false. They can be false." I'm texting Becky. I'm like having a panic attack. I'm like
I
crying.
remember that.
I'm texting Becky and she was like, just take the damn test. Like, I'm here for you. Let's just do it together.
I'll
So
stay
Becky
on the
was
phone.
I'll be on the phone. Becky in her closet.
My girls know my closet is my
God.
sanctuary. If
Yes.
that door is closed,
Into
you stay back, because I am crying in there and I'm feeling my feelings. I am consulting. I am taking a hot minute for myself. There is a lot that can be done in the closet, but it's like,
Yeah.
God, you just need your people sometimes. And
Yeah.
sometimes I don't need business advice. Sometimes I just need my friend to tell me, back away from the computer. That email can wait. You're not okay. I feel that you're not okay. And I think that's the hardest thing about running a business as a mom is I want my kids to be okay. I want the business to be okay. And I'm always going to put myself at the end of the equation. And now I am reorienting my whole life to put me at the front of that equation, because I know the kids are not going to soar unless I'm healthy. The business is not going to soar unless I'm healthy. And to have a space where I can just come with you amazing ladies and gripe about something or pitch a question, or I mean, we were all up in Kish's book cover the other day, you know, and throwing opinions down. And I just think the highs and lows.
And I love this because we are also in a public facing role in what we do. We all speak. We're all on stages. I think there's this idea of, because you're on a stage, your just life is picturesque. Shocker. Welcome to this podcast episode where it is not.
Train wreck every day over here, y'all.
But then we
Good
also,
with it.
I mean, that's another great point of talking about, we're all up in her book cover. We're talking about equity when it comes to speaking. We're talking about our program, like all, basically anything and everything is fair game.
Everything y'all see on the internet we have discussed. I mean, and to keep it real, like people are like, oh my God, Kishshana, you're so fabulous, whatever. I was like, look, my bedroom looks like the back of the Goodwill right now. The way in which I have 5 suitcases laid on the floor, and my poor child and boyfriend just be tiptoeing y'all over it, like pretending, because the rest of the house is clean, right? And pristine. And my bedroom's not dirty, but it is I mean, you know,
my house is a real mess.
All of it, disaster.
Put a Goodwill or the Salvation Army drop off, and you be trying to stuff
throw the piles on the piles,
and the stuff be falling out. I mean, you're still trying to get it in there. That's my bedroom. Because I'm determined to have a perfect closet. And
I remember this. That was on your hunt when you were looking.
And I had a very, very, very terrible contractor who was a complete shyster and set me back so far. I'm still navigating, dealing with his insurance company.
Oh, God.
And yet, like, I realized how much, I think you said this earlier, Madeline, about like things having to be a certain way, like how much order is so important to me in order to get things done. And I had this idea about, I was like, maybe I should just show people what my closet looks like so they can leave me alone and stop thinking I'm perfect, because I'm not, you know? So there's that, to your point, Dana, there's this idea that we are just living this like picturesque life. And the reality is, no, there have been some very, you know, novella type things that have occurred to me.
Yeah.
Novella is a good word.
It's not the Truman Show over here. Not in these parts of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're recording this. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
Yeah.
And so we're recording this in May. And see, I never know the months. I'm like, is it a day? Is it a week? Is it the whole month? Okay, it's the whole month. So, and I think like it's really important that we're like having this conversation in this month, because I feel like when it comes to mental health conversations, they're sort of like, they get kind of polarized or binary, like you're well or you're dealing with mental health challenges. And I think as working moms, business owners, humans, like our mental wellness is like always a moving target with the variables of the day and the elements. And I feel like part of what we've created in our friendship and in our group is like a constant to like ride the waves together. And nobody is one or the other. We are just like in these constant evolutions of this. So I don't know. I know we could talk literally forever, and I kind of want to just come over and have that sleepover, but maybe we could.
Me too. FOMO.
I
Come
know.
to Atlanta.
Can we do it?
You're coming to Atlanta for your book.
Oh, that's true. Sleepover in October.
Can I
are.
Can I brag on my 3 friends who are all getting books out this fall? Like, I am so stinking proud of you ladies. My heart is exploding with pride for you ladies. I have seen how hard you have worked on your books in the background. You all have walked through some hell to get these books through. And I just want to denote it on this podcast that not only are you running your businesses and being moms, but you are authors and you're about to put something so beautiful into the world. And I am coming from Oklahoma to Atlanta to this sleepover, to this book party, because I don't want to miss it. And I'm so stinking proud of all of you girls for the way that you pour into the world. Girls, women,
Thank
whatever.
you. Says the woman who has done what,
Right.
600 podcast episodes in like 2 years.
That's why I don't have time to write a book. So we'll work it out someday.
Making a book.
I'm just going to ebook that whole thing. I'll just slap the front, episode 1 to 600 slap.
Riveting. Okay. Because I promise you, I was editing a chapter last night and I was like, God, this doesn't sound like me. And I'm thinking, why doesn't it sound like me? I was like, not enough curse words. And I was like, oh. And we just had this conversation about profane language. The truth of the matter is that when I was in 3rd grade, I heard the F word for the first time from a 5th grader and it sounded like glory. Glory. So much so that by the time I was in middle school, my parents stopped punishing me for cursing.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I mean, I used to be like, you know, like.
Give me that. Isn't the hardest part of motherhood keeping a straight face when your kid accidentally swears? I texted Dana the other day. I was sitting in Emmy's room and she said she thought she was going to say bucket, but she did not. And then she said, but she was like, and then I was like, wait, what? And she was like, I meant to say bucket, but I said Boop. And then she kept saying that over and over and over again. And finally I was just like, okay, so that's actually another word. And then I was just like, in my head, I was being transported back to my 1st grade self where I got sent to the principal's office for doing the same thing. I made something rhyme and accidentally dropped the F word. And I'm sitting in the principal's office and he's trying to reprimand me. And I must have looked like a freaking deer in headlights because finally he realizes that I have no idea what the word is. And he just sends me back to class. And I went home and was like, what is this thing? Like, I think I got in trouble, but I don't know why.
Oh, that makes me want to hug you.
My cheeks hurt from laughing.
Both my kids have used that word, and as young kids, and every single time it is the most hilarious. And I do not poker face. I'm that mom that does not poker face. I go with it and I laugh. So
my only agreement to Sinai was when she was little was, okay, sis. I was like, I don't want you using those words to me. Okay. I know you ain't no friends. Or what the fuck is that? I know y'all are doing it. Okay. But I would like you to have command of multi-syllabic words at the same time as a well-placed F-bomb. You know, sometimes there's only that word will do. But I need you to also be able to dress somebody down with the good King James. You see I feel like that's
good King James.
Oh my God. Can your next book please be a manual of all of these
Kishisms?
Yes.
Kishisms. They're so good.
I promise you.
Oh my God. Okay. I love y'all so much. Can I ask you to leave folks with just one word or final sentence around your recommendation to everyone who's listening to this, who are going to go out there and maybe try to find their people or maybe try to see if one of the groups that they're in can create more space and vulnerability for some of these conversations. What would you recommend they do to dip their toe in?
It's a good question.
Okay, I'm going to piggyback off Kish, and I'm going to say your people are already out there. You just may not have asked them to be in a formalized group like this. Brooke Ritchie Babbage is just such a dear friend, and I love her so much. And she has this phrase about the sustainable sisterhood. And I use air quotes around that because I think whatever your squad is, you just need to find your squad. And if you're not sure who that is, start with your values. Start with the people who make you laugh. Start with the people who make you feel safe. Start with the people who will tell you the truth. Those are your people. And I've been listening to this quote so much, and I'm going to share it with you all because my therapist and I bring it up every week for the last 6 weeks, and I just feel like somebody needs to hear this. But beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You're a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. So make sure you're right with yourself. Make sure you're good inside before you go look for your people. And if you're not, that's okay too, because we're all whole. We may feel broken, but we're all whole. And we just need the people that are going to bring out the good in us and hold us in the bad. So that would be my advice.
I love that. I would just say you are not a problem to be solved. And if you start with that, then how you show up in spaces won't carry the worry of desperation or of having to put on or of having to be someone you're not or to do things to be liked. You're not a problem to be solved. Right. And I think that to me is something that I've had to tell myself for years over and over again. And just in the writing of the book, believe it or not, really thinking like, okay. And so that's my one thing. You are not a problem to be solved. And you can't go into community with other groups, in my opinion, if you feel like you are, to your point, Becky, are broken. You're not broken. You might be cracked though, but you're not broken. And so I think that is an important distinction.
So good.
And if you're cracked, do some kintsugi. Do you know about this? The Japanese form of art, where they take like broken pottery and they fuse it together and they put it with gold.
Yes.
Kintsugi, baby, put it back together. Make it look flashy and beautiful afterward.
Love that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Becky's family watches very cool art videos. I have had the pleasure of doing a sleepover at their house and playing games on their TV with the girls.
Totally.
I guess what I would say is to really make it a priority. It's really easy to sit in stuff by ourselves. And I feel like until like 2020, 2021, I was feeling like real down and questioning as a solopreneur, like, was I going to still do this? Like, was I still going to be in business and not just quit? And it wasn't until I joined my first version of what was a mastermind and I met all these women and kind of to the point what we're talking about, it was like, oh my God, they're dealing with the same thing I am and they feel the same way. And how did I not know this? And it's because I've been just like sitting here and I didn't make a priority. I didn't really invest in myself. And so I would say make it a priority for you. And it only has to start with one person. We just naturally evolved it to be the four of us. But I think it was collectively individual relationships that built in authentically, like, not to coin like the buzzy term, but it's true. Like it just naturally grew. But it was a priority for each of us to have it.
Yeah. Party popper, blower.
All right. Good. I love you all so much.
You too.
Love you.
Thanks for gathering us to chat.
Absolutely.
Just felt good.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Love you too.